With just 8 teams left in the college football playoff, the hunt for the national championship is on. Even though Kansas, unfortunately, is not one of those 8, it should still be fun to watch, as today we'll go through the second round of the playoff, positioning ourselves for the next episode where we will go through both the Final Four matchups and the national championship. In the last episode, we had our first round matchup against Michigan, unfortunately losing that game by the score of 30-19. Unable to get revenge from the Season 1 national championship defeat. All 4 first-round games ended up being really close, and interestingly, the margin of defeat was the largest in our game. Kind of crazy to think about, considering after the 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter, we had the lead and possession of the ball. Clyde Poole in his first career playoff game was not particularly good. He completed less than 50% of his passes. He had his second least efficient passing game of this season, and this was by far the weakest rushing performance I have seen from him in his 2-year career. I mean, he's been so consistent for us on the ground ever since he made his first start as a freshman. This is unheard of for him. He has over 2,000 yards and 24 rushing touchdowns in 2 seasons with us, but he was a total non-factor on the ground. Now, even though his numbers as a passer and a runner were both really not good, I don't think this loss is entirely his fault. We really struggled in the trenches in this game. We couldn't run the ball with the exception of Ty Lord. Poole barely had time to throw it. He was sacked 5 times. He had to throw out of sacks, constantly under pressure. Specifically, our 2 offensive guards lost us the game. James Livingston, who had not allowed a sack all year, lets up 4, while Amir Herring lost multiple reps. He was called for multiple very untimely penalties. If those 2 guys had played at an adequate level, we would have won. Defensively, we were really good for most of the game, with the exception of the very end, but we still did not get enough at the line of scrimmage. The run defense struggled, the pass rush was quiet in the second half, and the true freshman, Quantavius Landers, had a really bad coverage bust late in the fourth quarter on a long touchdown by Frederick Moore to give Michigan the lead. But again, the Wolverine offense was not that impressive. Patrick Anderson had 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter. That should have costed them the game, but they ran the ball really well. They had the big drive, specifically the big play for Frederick Moore at the end, but they played so well up front. Coleman Vivian, the sophomore center, had 26 pancakes. Good golly, that's a lot. They had no shortage of pressure, 2.5 sacks for Cameron Brandt leading the way. We lost because we struggled at the line of scrimmage. There's a reason why pretty much all of our recruiting focus this year has been on the offensive and defensive line. Today's episode will not be about us, though. It'll be about the remaining 8 teams, the top 8 seeds left. We had some fun games, of course, as I said in the last episode, including Florida and Maryland. DJ Lagway and MJ Morris combining to throw for 11 touchdowns. There was long play after long play in that game. And if the first round is any indication, I think we are going to be in for a treat. So get comfortable, get a snack, because we've got a lot to cover, and we're not going to waste any more time. Let's get this show on the road with the second round of the college football playoff, and we're going to kick things off with the Cotton Bowl. 5-seeded Maryland coming off their thrilling win a week ago against Florida, facing off against the Charlotte 49ers, the Group 5 representative here in the playoff, coming from the American Athletic. Group 5 teams are 0-2 in the playoffs so far in this series, and Charlotte looks to change the narrative. Maryland is certainly the favorite in this game. They were ranked as the highest at-large team in the country, and the question with them going into the playoff is if they're going to be able to hang with the big boys. 10-0 against non-playoff teams, 0-2 against Oregon and Michigan. Early in the Florida matchup, they did struggle. They were down by as many as 18 points in the third quarter, but they were able to come back. MJ Morris was a gunslinger in this game, throwing for 450 yards and 5 touchdowns to go along with 3 interceptions. It was the sophomore running back, DeJuan Williams, who really closed the game out for them. But what's most scary about this offense is the receiver room. Braden Wisłowski's been great all year. Nick Harbor, maybe the most physically dominant receiver in the country. We knew the talent was there, and he showed it against Florida. 7 catches for nearly 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. As for Charlotte, do they have a chance against Maryland? I think the answer is yes. If we look at the other Group 5 teams who have made the playoff in this series, in year 1, Tulane almost beat Texas in a really good game. Last year, Oregon State got blown out by Oregon. I don't think this Charlotte team is going to put up as much of a stinker as the Beavers have. They won some big games late in the year, beating Tulsa, Tulane, and Tulsa again in a blowout in the American Athletic Championship. Max Brown is a fringe top 100 pick. Both him and MJ Morris, a pair of seniors, certainly playing for draft positioning today. Brown has been arguably the best Group 5 quarterback in America. I wouldn't even say arguably. I don't think there's anybody in his league. Finished as a Heisman contender towards the bottom of the list, and they've got some good playmakers. Jarius Mack, Braylon Staley, Dwayne Thomas, a three-headed monster receiver. Defensively, they are a bit top-heavy. Dante Balfour and Demon Clowney, both legit NFL draft prospects. Kendall Brown, redshirt sophomore, might be even better than both of those guys, but Charlotte does lack a little bit of depth defensively across the board, and if they lose this game, it could be because Maryland just completely overpowers them on offense. The Terps did score 45 against Florida, so you'd think they'll be able to score big numbers against anybody. But they also allowed 42 against the Gators. And looking at the quarterbacks remaining in this year's playoff, I think Max Brown, of the guys left, would have a really good chance to perform well against this Terp defense, who certainly has some good players, but did not look the part last week. So Maryland will start with it. Williams in motion. Morris, first play of the game, launches it down the field. Are you kidding me? Maryland right back to their shenanigans. Dante Lee Jr., an 86-yard touchdown for number 86 on the first play of the game. MJ Morris picking right where he left off from the first round game against Florida. This is cinema already, as it's 7-0 Maryland. Charlotte with it, 3rd and 12. Brown under pressure, and he is sacked on the play. Maryland's defense forcing the early stop. A couple of guys there bringing him down, including what looked like Daniel Owens, the senior edge rusher. 3rd down and 9 for Maryland. Morris under pressure, and he will be brought down for a loss. So Charlotte's able to get out at the drive. Gregory Yates, the junior linebacker, brings him home. 49ers back with it, 2nd and long. Brown looks to scramble. He's not known as a runner, but he can do it. Nearing midfield, is tackled, but not before a big run of 32 yards. An impressive scramble by the senior quarterback. Teron Killiman with a big run to the outside into the red zone to around the 14. 3rd and 2 now at the 6. Somebody jumped, and it looked like that was Maryland. So the 49ers are going to get a first down here. That is a big deal. Instead of having to worry about what your play call is on 3rd down, Charlotte now has 4 shots at the end zone. 1st and goal. Brown, quick throw, is caught. And Charlotte ties it at 7. Jarius Mack, the senior receiver, comes down with it. Looks like Charlotte might be giving us a game. Maryland back with it late in the first quarter. DeJuan Williams to the right side. Has some room. Gets by the safety. And he is gone. Another long play for Maryland. 64 yards to the crib for Williams, who really impressed me in the game against Florida. Picking right back up where he left off as it's 14-7. 2nd and 10 for Charlotte. Brown under pressure. He is sacked. Nowhere to go whatsoever as Miles Green leads the way, joined by others, and that'll bring us into the second quarter. An eventful start, 14-7 Maryland. Morris under pressure. Downfield, he's got Wisłowski. 60 yards to the crib. This offense is unguardable. Braden Wisłowski, who's been statistically the best receiver on this team this year, was quiet in the win against Florida. There's the big play we were waiting for out of him. It's 21-7. Another sack by the Maryland defense. This pass rush has been relentless. Neo Avery, the junior, brings home Brown. Terps back with it, looking to add to the lead. 2nd and 7. Morris with a strike up the middle. Wisłowski again, 5 catches for 108 yards and a touchdown already. 1st and goal. Morris keeps it himself, untouched, walks the red carpet into the end zone for a rushing touchdown, and Maryland has built themselves a very sustainable lead. It's 28-7. Charlotte back with it. It is a 3rd and 2, late in the half. Deep shot is caught. Dwayne Thomas Jr. Charlotte with a long touchdown. and it's 28-14. It's a 63-yarder. This is literally a replay of the Maryland and Florida game. Deep shot after deep shot after deep shot, and to everyone's credit, it's working. How about another? Morris, downfield, to the 10, to the 5, another touchdown. It's the tight end, Preston Howard, with a 47-yarder. Flexing on the haters, 35-14. Charlotte with under 30 seconds. Brown with a strike down the field. It's Dwayne Thomas who hauls it in at around the 20-yard line, looking for the end zone. It is broken up on third down, and we're going to see the field goal unit come out. Kyle Cunanan, the redshirt junior from Phoenix, Arizona, on to kick from 30. That one is good, and that'll wrap up what has been a very exciting first half. Maryland has picked up right where they left off, offensively scoring 35 points, but I would not get comfortable if I was them. The Terps were down by this exact score a week ago. They trailed 35-17 early in the third quarter before going on their big run. However, Charlotte has not shown any signs of stopping this passing game. MJ Morris is 14 for 14 with 298 yards and 3 touchdowns. Coming into the year, he was projected as a day 3 pick, but as he continues to play well here on the big stage, his stock is going to go up and up and up, even though he's going to be 25 years old as a rookie. Doesn't matter how old you are in the NFL. If you can ball, you can ball. 3rd and 13, the Terps start the second half with a sack. Neo Avery finishes him off. Brown has taken a beating in this game. When he's had time to throw it, he's been good, but he hasn't consistently had time to throw it. Morris on 3rd and 12, his first incompletion of the game, he throws it away. So Charlotte finally gets a stop. They would march down the field. Brown on 2nd and goal will scramble in for a touchdown. A big drive for Max Brown and the Charlotte 49ers as they cut the lead to 11. Got to get some more stops defensively, though. Last drive was a good start, but they've got to get a few more. 2nd and 10, looks like a screen for Williams. Has blockers, jukes away from the defender, and there he goes! DeJuan Williams inside the 30, past the 25 for another huge gain. That one goes for 50. 3rd and 18 now for Maryland. Morris looks to throw it. Looking deep, open. Braden Wisłowski again! Maryland adds to the lead. The Terp receivers are just too fast for these defensive backs. I don't know why Charlotte isn't running like some form of cover 4, though. Keep as many guys in the back end as possible because what they're doing isn't working. 3rd and 9 for the 49ers. They'll go with a screen. Teron Kellerman does not get the first down. Good job by the Maryland defense. And Charlotte's going to go for it. What do they have to lose here in the fourth quarter now? It's a 4th and 6. Brown looks to throw it. Has time. Looking deep, and it's broken up. He had an open receiver, but didn't put enough on that pass. We've got a flag anyway. It's going to be a holding on the offense, so Maryland will decline it, and they will get the ball back, looking to add some more points. 1st and goal. Morris looks to throw it. Quick throw is caught. Nick Harbor in for a touchdown. He's been quiet today after scoring 4 times a week ago against Florida. He's in for a touchdown here, and it's 49-24. Another 4th down for Charlotte. They'll go for it again. Brown looks to throw it downfield. He's got his man into the end zone for a touchdown. Dwayne Thomas Jr., his 2nd of the game. He's had himself a night. 6 catches for a $145 and a pair of touchdowns as Maryland will recover the onside kick. They would tack on a field goal, and that'll just about do it. 52-31. No shortage of scoring in this one. Maryland wins the Cotton Bowl over Charlotte. MJ Morris puts on a clinic. 20 of 23, 407 yards, and 6 touchdowns, one-upping himself from a week ago. In Maryland's 2 playoff games, they have scored 97 points so far. The defense has been suspect. They've allowed 73 points over the last 2 games. But it doesn't matter. If MJ Morris is just going to continue to sling it like this, and these receivers are going to get open vertical, it doesn't matter how many points they allow. So Maryland goes to the Final Four. They will face off against the winner of USC and number 1 seeded Miami. All 3 of those teams, national championship caliber. So whoever Maryland plays, I think will be exciting. Got to shout out Charlotte, though. Those guys fought. This was not like the Oregon State beatdown last year. Maybe not as exciting as Tulane a couple years ago. But I thought both quarterbacks played well. We'll start with MJ Morris. He was dealing. 407 yards, over 20 yards per completion. DeJuan Williams had a really good game. 143 yards on the ground. 200 yards pretty much from scrimmage. Braden Wisloski, after a quiet game last week, had 8 for 157 and a pair. Maryland's coverage was not great. Charlotte was able to throw the ball well, but Maryland did do a good job at the line of scrimmage. They sent plenty of pressure, and that killed a lot of drives for Charlotte. If not for these sacks, there's a chance Charlotte could have gotten into the 40, maybe 50-point range as well. Again, though, I want to give Charlotte credit. Max Brown is a hell of a quarterback. I don't know where he's going to get drafted. I don't know how early, but he is the real deal. As we look at Maryland's next potential matchup, I think Miami is a little bit better than USC, but I think USC could be a bad matchup for the Terps because USC offensively plays very similarly to that of Maryland. They're very vertical. They have receivers who can stretch the field, and Maryland couldn't contain Charlotte's guys today. So look at the top right here. You'll notice the Charlotte coach apparently is planning to go to Navy, it looks like. That doesn't make any sense at all because they are going from the best group of 5 team in the country to the worst. Navy went 0-12 this year, from first in the conference to last. I guess this coach wants a challenge. That would be the only rationale behind this move. No running from the grind over here, as that'll bring us to the Peach Bowl, a rematch of the Big Ten Championship between Michigan and Notre Dame. This could have been the game that we played in had we beat Michigan, so it's going to hurt a little bit knowing this could have been us. As we look at the Wolverines, they're a very strong team, 12-2. Nobody in this playoff field is more battle-tested and experienced than them. Final Four run last year, national champions the 2 seasons prior, but they're looking for revenge. They were hoping to get the number 1 overall seed, and they would have had they beaten Notre Dame in the Big Ten championship game, but they did not. I have questions about this team offensively. Patrick Anderson's numbers are good, but I did not find myself to be impressed with him in the game against Kansas, a pretty lackluster pass defense. Obviously, Darius Taylor, the star running back, is out. He will not return at all during the playoffs with a torn groin. Trey Kamara's done admirable in his place, and they've got some good receivers. Frederick Moore, Samaj Morgan, guys who have played in a lot of big games. I will say, though, this defense is really good. You know Etza is going to be a first-round pick. He had a really good game against us. Antonio McCullough played well, too. And, of course, Cameron Brandt had 2.5 sacks. Sullivan, as well, had 8 on the season. As we look at Notre Dame, they're sort of the sleeping giant, in a sense, because for much of the year, they were sort of on the bubble. They lost their last game of the year to USC, and that put them in a vulnerable spot going into the Big Ten championship game against Michigan. If they laid a stinker, they could have dropped out. But they beat Michigan, they get the first round bye, and they'll get to play the Wolverines again. 4-star redshirt freshman Jay Pitts leads the way at quarterback, a former Kansas recruiting target. Pitts has had a phenomenal freshman year with the Irish, winning the starting job over C.J. Carr. Jeremiah Love, one of the best running backs in the country. Jaden Greathouse and Cam Williams, a phenomenal receiver duo. Both guys looking to pass the 1,000 yards mark today. They will be without Jordan Faison, though, who's a really good player. Defensively, they've got a lot of talent, some good defensive linemen. I look at Tyson Ford. I think he's going to be probably a second-rounder. In the secondary, Christian Gray, projected to be a first-rounder in what is a very good cornerback class. So this is going to be a really fun game. 2 teams who are familiar with each other. They played just a couple of weeks ago in the Big Ten Championship. They also played in the playoff back in Season 1 in the first round in Notre Dame. Ended up being a horrible game. Michigan won 38-3, but the score didn't tell you the whole story. Both offenses were abysmal. I think Riley Leonard had like 4 interceptions in the fourth quarter alone. Notre Dame had basically given up, but it was putrid offense from start to finish. Very different, though, in the Big Ten Championship this year. Notre Dame scored 45, a stark contrast from 3. But we'll see what happens here. I'm excited to watch Jay Pitts, the redshirt freshman, as we'll start with Michigan. Here is Patrick Anderson looking to scramble with it past the 50. A big run for Anderson, the stopgap quarterback for Michigan in between Alex Orji and then whoever they start next year. Anderson's had a good season. I just don't think he elevates this roster, and he certainly didn't against the Jayhawks as he misfires on third down. That'll bring out the field goal unit. The lefty, Adam Samaha from 51. His kick will doink off the crossbar. No good. And Michigan is unable to score here on their first drive of the game. Notre Dame with it. Let's look at this freshman, Jay Pitts. Does he shine under pressure? That ball's out. It's a fumble. And it's picked up by the big fella. Michigan forces the turnover. That was not Jeremiah Love. That was the backup running back, Weeks, who lost control of the ball. It was forced out by Jamal Gant and recovered by Inoeta. Anderson with a strike. That one brings Michigan to around the 10. Kendrick Bell, the redshirt junior, with a gain of 27. Near the goal line, 3rd and 8. Anderson looks to throw it. Under pressure. Nobody's open. He's going to start to run with it. And he is wrapped up quickly by the All-American linebacker, Kingston Viliamu Asa, who I think could be a high draft pick if he declares for the draft this year, a true junior. Chip shot field goal for Samaha is good from 23. And so Michigan will take advantage of the takeaway. They're on the board of the field goal. 3rd and long. Pitts misfires on the screen, and Notre Dame's going to look to add some points. Zach Yoakum, the redshirt senior, on to kick here for the Irish. This one from around 50. His kick is up, and it is no good. So both kickers have now missed here in the first quarter. Ball don't lie. As we go to the second quarter, Notre Dame back with it. Still 3-0. Complete far cry from the last game. It's been all defense. Pitts wants it all. Down the field, it's caught. Was there a push-off there? No flag. 50-yarder for Jaden Greathouse, the standout senior, now over 1,000 yards on the year, as Pitts is sacked in the backfield, stalling the drive. It's Eric McMadison III on the nickel blitz into the backfield. The Irish did not see it coming. Michigan back with it, 3rd and 11. Anderson on the run. It is broken up, nearly intercepted. The defense had a chance there. Notre Dame back with it. 3rd and 6. Pitts under pressure. He is sacked again. Lugard Edokpayi leads the way for Michigan, and that'll wrap up the first half. Our score at the first game at the break was 35-21. This game is 3-0. These two games were played with the exact same sliders, yet they could not be any more different. A defensive masterclass by both of these teams. It has been ugly. Midwest, Big Ten football. The Peach Bowl viewers here in Atlanta, this must not be what they're used to at all, right? So Notre Dame has it here to start the third. A goose egg in the first half. Flashbacks to when they played Michigan in the playoff a couple years ago, as Jeremiah Love does not get the first down. Notre Dame's going to punt it on 4th and 1 at the opposing 40. I mean, they have no faith in their offense to punt it in that spot. 3rd and 12 for Michigan. Anderson, bad throw. If he leads his receiver a little bit more towards the sidelines, they get a positive gain there, maybe a first down. But instead they get nothing, and now Michigan looks to punt it. And that'll wrap up a very uneventful third quarter, as it remains 3-0. We'll see if Michigan can keep on pushing. The winner of this one facing off against the winner of Clemson and UCF in the next round. 2nd and inches for Notre Dame, trying to get any form of points as Pitts fires. That'll bring the Irish to the 25. It's Micah Gilbert who makes the play. In 7 quarters of playoff football in this series, Notre Dame has scored 3 points. Will they change it here? 2nd and 12. Pitts looking, end zone, touchdown! What a grab by Dion Moore, the redshirt freshman, with the biggest catch of his life. Notre Dame is finally on the board. It took over 3 quarters, and they will take the lead 7-3. Now it's time for Michigan to respond. Their offense finally has their backs against the wall. Anderson on 3rd down is sacked inside the 5. He dug his own grave there and lost more yardage than he needed to. Logan Thomas brings him down, and the Irish get it back. Pitts on 1st down, looking downfield. He's got his tight end, Cooper Flanagan. He gets it inside the 10. There's finally a sense of urgency and a confidence with this Notre Dame offense that we didn't see early in this game. 3rd and 1, Pitts under pressure, and he is sacked. Antonio McCullough with the biggest defensive play of the game so far, because Notre Dame now has to kick a field goal and the deficit will stay at 1 score. McCullough has had a really good playoff. He played very well against us, played very well here against Notre Dame. As the kick is good for Zach Yoakum from 24, and it's 10-3. Michigan hasn't exactly shown us the signs that they'll be able to come back, but you never know. Anderson has his running back, Cole Cabana, down the sideline with a big play past the 40. A gain of 34 for the senior running back. 3rd and 5. Anderson under pressure. He is sacked. Logan Thomas again with 2 of the biggest defensive plays in this game for Notre Dame. Here at the 2-minute timeout, Michigan's going to go for it here on 4th down. Anderson looks to throw it. Looking deep down the field. It's broken up in the secondary. We've got a flag. I think this one is going to be on the offense. So Notre Dame's going to decline it. They'll get the ball back and they'll look to shut the door. Joe Brunner, the senior guard, the Maryland transfer, is called for the penalty. 3rd and 1, looking to end this game. Jeremiah Love with a first down past the 40, taunting the defense as Notre is injured, so that'll stop the clock. Notre Dame backed up with a 3rd and 21. A first down ends it for good now. We'll see what they're going to do here. They're just going to run the ball, try to chew some more clock as Etza's hurt again. This kind of works out for Michigan because the clock stops. The Wolverines were out of timeouts, but they essentially get to use one here. So instead of having enough time for one more play, look at the clock. They're going to have 30 seconds. They can theoretically do something here, all because of the injury. Up the middle, Frederick Moore, who had the go-ahead touchdown a week ago, hauls it in. Anderson on 2nd and 10, under pressure, scrambles around, on the run. He's got his man! Samaj Morgan to around the 20. Michigan going no huddle as they look to clock the ball. I cannot believe that they got away with Etza getting injured. For all we know, he was faking it so Michigan could stop the clock. Anderson spikes it at 9 seconds. They'll have probably 2 to 3 chances for the end zone as he throws it away. Now with 6 seconds. They might get 1 play, 2 if they're lucky. 3rd and 10 for the Wolverines, down by 7. Anderson under pressure has to get rid of it, and it's incomplete. Still 2 seconds though, and the game comes down to this. Michigan season on the line. A spot in the Final Four for Notre Dame. Anderson for the end zone. It's caught, but out of bounds. The receiver did not get his feet in, and Notre Dame hangs on to win the Peach Bowl. They sweep Michigan for the year and will move to the Final Four, winning this game by the very high score of 10-3. Both offenses were non-existent for 3 quarters. Notre Dame got it moving in the 4th. Jay Pitts made some big throws when he needed to, and Michigan actually looked good for once on that final drive. It was too little too late, however. They needed to play like that the rest of the game, and obviously they did not. So Michigan will not be back in the Final Four for what, like a 6th consecutive year, I think? New territory for the Wolverines. You still feel like this is a really successful year for Michigan because they're undergoing a transition at quarterback. Their star running back has missed the last 8 games, yet they still got this far. I think this strong stat line is a little deceiving for Jay Pitts. I don't think he was bad and he avoided mistakes, but prior to the 4th quarter, he wasn't moving his team down the field. To his credit, though, he stepped up in a big spot, and I'm really intrigued to watch him again next week against either UCF or Clemson. Jaden Greathouse, the senior receiver, had a really good game, 6 catches for $120, and then this defense was unbelievable. I mean, they allowed 3 points. If you had told Notre Dame they would score 10 points, you imagine they would lose, but the defense was outstanding. Patrick Anderson was good on the last drive, but again, I was underwhelmed. I didn't really see anything special here with him. Michigan obviously will be looking at another quarterback next year with Anderson being a senior, a guy who's developed in the program, went from a walk-on to a starter. And it's nice to have those fun Cinderella stories, but when you're playing quarterback at the University of Michigan, it's not about being Cinderella, it's about being the man. This defense allowed 10 points. They were fantastic in both playoff games, but their offense let them down today. Let's now head to our next matchup. Clemson and UCF in the Fiesta Bowl. I think this is the matchup here in this second round that I'm most intrigued by. We start with Clemson, who I think has as good of a chance as anybody to win the national title. They just beat Oregon, the team who they lost to in the playoff last year. And if we go back a season ago, Oregon was coming off their year where they were number one. They were worse, but they found a way to win a national championship. Could we see a repeat here with Clemson? Last year was supposed to be their year. They went undefeated. They were the title favorites, and they lost to Oregon in the Final Four. Lenore Sellers, I feel like, has really made strides over this year. He's become a lot more consistent. They have a three-headed monster receiver with Tyler Brown, TJ Moore, and Antonio Williams. Of course, their running back, David Eziomame, has missed much of the year, but he is back healthy. And then this defense did what nobody's been able to do throughout the year, and that stopped Dante Moore. Moore turned the ball over twice last week. He only had one through the 12 regular season games. As we take a look at UCF, they are one of the few teams in the country who have a quarterback who's just as good as Dante Moore with Ja'Cory Brown. The class of the Big 12, UCF finished with the best record of any team in the entire country at 12-1. The only team with one or less losses. Ja'Cory Brown entered the year as a fringe top 100 pick. I think he's QB2 in this draft right now and probably goes in the first round. I mean, he's been fantastic. 74% completion percentage, only 2 interceptions. He's dynamic as a runner. UCF has a really young group of skill position players who Brown has been able to elevate. My question with UCF is if they're going to be able to match up with one of the true big dogs, such as Clemson. As good as UCF has been, they play in the Big 12, who doesn't necessarily have as many top-heavy teams as, say, the ACC does. UCF has looked vulnerable at times throughout the year. They allowed 42 points against an Arizona State offense who's really struggled over the last month in the conference championship game. They just happened to score 50. As a team who plays in the Big 12, I think UCF going on a title run would be good for us and our conference. Any way we can make the Big 12 look better to potentially poach a team like, say, Clemson would be very valuable. Obviously, Clemson's primary focus today is winning this game, but I think in the big picture, in the long term, they're trying to use this game as a measuring stick. How do they compare with UCF and the rest of the Big 12 if they were to switch? In the red zone, that ball is out! They messed up the snap! UCF forces the turnover. So Clemson marched down the field really well, really efficiently, but they mess up the timing of the snap on the end around. UCF recovers, and Clemson's first drive ends with a goose egg. 3rd and 3, Ja'Cory Brown way overthrows his target. He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the country. That is rare. The butterflies are showing for the senior. Following UCF possession, Brown looks to throw it downfield, and it's hauled in! Kylan Fox high points the ball and will not go down. Fox is the biggest reason why UCF won the Big 12 championship to begin with. He had 262 yards from scrimmage. Colt Simon now inside the 10. A gain of 25 for the change of pace running back. 3rd and goal, Brown looking for Simon. He loses yardage, so Clemson follows up with a stop in the red zone, and UCF is going to be forced to kick, looking to score the first points of the game. Owen Spielman, the true freshman, from 27, and the Knights lead at 3-0. These are two of the most explosive offenses, two of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the country. I think it's only a matter of time until we're going to see a lot of points. Sellers on the run in the end zone for a touchdown. Clemson's offense has been very slow and methodical today, but it's worked. Antonio Williams, the senior, who was really quiet in the win against Oregon, is the one with the score. On first down, here's another big play after the catch for UCF. It's Randy Pittman, the senior tight end and one of the better NFL prospects on this roster. 2nd and 7, delayed handoff for Javius Bond, the transfer from East Carolina, and he is going way backwards. UCF has to punt it. Clemson back with it inside the 10. Lenore Sellers, the South Carolina transfer, fumbles in the end zone. Clemson scoops it up, but it's going to be a safety. Could have been worse for the Tigers. It could have been a scoop and score, but UCF will gladly take the 2 points for the safety. John Walker, another one of the better NFL prospects on this roster, is the one with the strip sack. And then Marcus Downs, number 90, the sophomore, will get credited with the safety. So that'll make it 7-5, and of course UCF also gets the ball back. Brown on first down, up the middle. That one is caught inside the 10. The receiver was completely wide open. The fullback, Carlos Rico, with a gain of 32. Brown looking for the end zone. It's hauled in. Jordan Bridgewater, the sophomore, with the touchdown. UCF regains the lead. They take full advantage of the safety. It's now 12-7. Clemson back with it. Sellers, it's a screen for Antonio Williams. To the left side, plenty of room for the senior, a projected second rounder in this year's class. The higher projected of the two Clemson receivers entering this draft. Up the middle, Williams again brings it to the 25. We're starting to finally see the same sense of urgency from this Clemson offense that we got at times last week in the Oregon game. Minute and a half to go. Sellers looking deep. He's got Williams again. Breaks a tackle into the end zone. His second touchdown of the first half. Antonio Williams has been unguardable so far for the Tigers. It's 14-12. UCF back with it, but Brown is intercepted. Khalil Barnes, the All-American senior safety, with the interception. We talked about him just yesterday in the prospect profile for the Broncos series, and I described Barnes as a guy who's played in a lot of big games and has made a lot of big plays throughout his career. There's another one. One of the most battle-tested players across the nation had an interception last week against Dante Moore. Just the third interception all year from Brown as Clemson brings it inside the 10, playing against the clock under 15 seconds left. Sellers is going to clock it. Clemson does not have timeouts to play with here. They've got to be smart with how they go about this drive. Second and goal. Sellers looks to throw it under pressure, throws it away. Probably the smart call. That'll make it third and goal. They're going to keep the offense out on the field for at least one more play. Backed up at the 9-yard line. Cannot afford to be tackled in the field of play. Sellers looking for the corner of the end zone. It is broken up, and they're going to have to settle for a field goal. So a big stop for UCF. The redshirt sophomore Nolan Hauser on to kick for the Tigers. This one is up and through, and that'll wrap up an exciting first half. Clemson leads at 17-12 off of a big touchdown drive with Lanaris Sellers and Antonio Williams firing on all cylinders, followed by the interception by Khalil Barnes. We saw Dante Moore last week. He only had one interception in the regular season, picked off twice against Clemson. Ja'Cory Brown only had 2 interceptions through 13 games this year, but he just got intercepted, and we'll see how he responds. I think Brown has been pretty solid, but he's been a little underwhelming so far, considering he's supposed to go in the first round. That ball's out. It's a fumble, and it's picked up by the Tigers. A disastrous start to the second half for UCF. Forced out away by A.J. Hoffler and recovered by guess who? Khalil Barnes. Javius Bond, the veteran running back, is the one who loses control. Clemson now in the red zone. UCF does get the stop, though. Isaiah Nixon brings down Lanaris Sellers, and they will have to settle for probably a field goal. Nolan Hauser will return. The Tiger's going to smash his head into the goalpost. Buddy, are you sure you want early onset signs of CTE? Kick from Nolan Hauser is up and through. So the turnover directly leads to 3 points. Clemson now on a 13-0 run. 3rd and 16 for UCF. Their offense has got to get going again. It's a read option on 3rd and long, and Khalil Barnes sniffs it from a mile away. What a game from Barnes, looking to put himself in the conversation of going in the first round. As Richardson's called for the holding, Clemson will decline it. They'll get it back on offense. 3rd down and 10, up the middle with a strike. Hauled in by Tyler Brown, the best slot receiver in America, who gains 28. 1st and goal. Sellers scrambles, has space, breaks the tackle, and he's in! A Clemson touchdown here at the end of the 3rd. Lanaris Sellers with the score. A big 3rd quarter for the Tigers. They outscore UCF 10-0, and they lead by 15 going into the 4th. Ja'Cory Brown, let's see it, man. You're projected to go in the first round. You've played a disappointing game so far. Let's show the world why NFL teams view you as a potential franchise-level quarterback. On 3rd and 10, Brown up the middle with a nice throw to around the 40-yard line. Good throw and catch by Kylan Fox. They've got to get him the ball more, just his 2nd catch of the game. 2nd down and long, 2nd and 18 to be exact. This one is underthrown and picked off. Clemson with another turnover. Miles Oliver down the field. The senior brings it to the 40. It's sort of crazy. Ja'Cory Brown and Dante Moore combined to throw 3 interceptions all year. The two of them have combined for 4 over the last 2 games against Clemson. Deep shot. Sellers, incomplete. That was really good coverage. Throw was on the money. Clemson had a chance to ice the game there. They can still make it a 3-possession lead, though. 53-yarder for Nolan Hauser is good. That'll make it 30-12. So now UCF really has to go into panic mode. 3rd and 4. They're going to run the ball, and Clemson sees it coming. Javius Bond is going backwards there, wrapped up by Sammy Brown, the All-American linebacker. 4th and 8. UCF obviously has to go for it. Brown looking short. It's caught, and it's not a first down. Clemson with the stop. They would tackle on a field goal, and that's going to do it. The Tigers win the Fiesta Bowl 33-12. This game was really close in the first half. I think it was the interception by Khalil Barnes that gave Clemson a lot of momentum. The big plays by Antonio Williams beforehand as well. UCF was never able to recover. So Clemson will go to the Final Four. They will play against Notre Dame for a spot in the national championship in what should be a really, really good matchup. Even though Notre Dame's the higher seed, I feel like Clemson is the favorite. The Tigers have looked really good in each of their first 2 playoff games against arguably the 2 best quarterback prospects in the country. Clemson made both of them look bad, particularly Ja'Cory Brown today. The scoreboard here says 33-10. We know that's not true. It's 33-12. I'm not sure why they're forgetting about the safety, but it wouldn't have really done much anyway. It just makes the score look closer. I was disappointed by Ja'Cory Brown. Now, he's had a fantastic year. He's still going to get drafted early, but in the biggest game of his career, I don't think he was all that impressive. I still think he's QB2 in this draft, but I don't think it's as much of a lock per se. They needed to get Kylan Fox the ball more. The fact that he only got it twice is inexcusable. And then they just didn't get enough out of their defense either. This certainly will not help the stigma around defenses in the Big 12 being, well, really bad. As for Clemson, Lenore Sellers with another really good game. As I mentioned going into this matchup, he's done such a good job this year of really settling in. He's not Cade Klubnik, but he's pretty damn close. Antonio Williams, 9 for $118 and a pair. He was their best receiver after being a non-factor in the win against Oregon. And then defensively, they were really good. 11 tackles, 5 for a loss and a sack for Sammy Brown. Khalil Barnes continues to show out in every game that we watch him play. He is the real deal. That'll bring us to the Orange Bowl, our final matchup in the quarterfinals between USC and Miami. The Trojans entered today as the lowest seeded remaining team left, but that does not make these guys an underdog. A dynamic offense, a team who flies down the field, some of the most explosive playmakers in the country. The question, though, is what type of performance will they get from redshirt freshman quarterback Sam Onitsulu? Individually, he was fine against Oklahoma, but the offense really wasn't all that impressive. They did not score a touchdown until the last drive of the game. But nonetheless, the guy is a stud. 48 touchdowns this year. Of course, the Heisman Trophy winner, Xavier Jordan. They're going to have to find a better way to utilize him than they did against Oklahoma. Zachariah Branch, Jalen Moss, plenty of good weapons. And I like this defense. They've got some NFL players up front. They've got some NFL players in the back end. It's going to be a real challenge here for Miami. Over the first 2 seasons of this series, the number 1 seed, Oregon in year 1, Clemson in year 2, both of them were the clear favorites going into the playoff. Obviously, neither of them ended up winning the whole thing. But I don't really see that here with Miami. I don't think there's any clear favorite this year. The Hurricanes, though, do deserve the number 1 spot. They're playing some outstanding football. They just beat Stanford in the ACC title game. Zion Turner, the transfer from Jacksonville State, is playing his best football at the right time. Took him a little bit to get going here with the Hurricanes, but he's been balling. A.J. Allen's a solid running back. Mark Fletcher Jr., he's been out for most of the year. He is healthy today, but his overall status is still very much questionable with what his usage will look like. The defense is the strength of this team, though. Malik Bryant currently leads the NCAA in tackles. They've got the best secondary in the country. Brendan Hilleman won the Best Defensive Back Award as a redshirt freshman. Robert Stafford, Jaden Harris, Jalen Davis III, Zaquan Patterson, all ended up being All-Americans and finished towards the top of the Best Defensive Back in the Nation award. So we've got arguably the most talented offense in the country against arguably the most talented defense in Miami. Gladiator versus gladiator. I'm curious to see which side will get the better of the other. That's what you love about the playoffs because it pits the best against the best. Can USC's offense, who struggled and looked vulnerable last week, perform better against a really good, maybe the best defense in the country with the University of Miami in their home stadium, no less, at the Orange Bowl? This is a home game for Miami. As the number 1 seed, they got to choose their venue. And Onatulu is sacked on the play by Marquise Lightfoot. Onatulu on third down goes deep. He's got Zachariah Branch. And USC strikes first. They did not have any of these explosive plays a week ago against Oklahoma. This is exactly what they've got to do. Facing off against some of the best cornerbacks in the country, but they've got some of the most dynamic receivers, including Branch. Here is Zion Turner, wrapped up in the backfield. Garrison Madden, French top 100 pick at linebacker, brings him down with the sack. USC back with it. Pretty good start for the Trojans. 3rd and inches to the outside. A big first down run and more nearing the 50. That's a Marion Peterson, the 3rd stringer. A good start for USC as we move into the second. Taylor Pinto is close. They're not going to give it to the sophomore. The USC is going to go for it here on 4th down as they're a couple feet away. Back to Pinto, fighting for yardage. He barely gets it. Miami's got a good defensive line as well. Ahmad Moten, the nose tackle, leads the way. One of the best run stuffers in the nation. 3rd and 15. Onatulu is picked off. Robert Stafford, one of the best corners in the country, with the interception on the pass intended for the Heisman Trophy winner, Xavier Jordan. Onatulu, being a little bit of a gunslinger, surprisingly keeps the ball safe. Just his 7th interception of the year, but nonetheless a good play by Stafford. We'll see if this is the drive Miami does something. 3rd and 9. Turner scrambles around. He has to avoid the safety by getting rid of the ball as it's incomplete. We've got a flag on the play. It's going to be a holding call against the offense. So this one will be declined. Miami's going to punt it. The Hurricanes' offense looks flat so far. USC would march down the field and punch it in for a touchdown, adding to the lead. Taylor Pinto, the running back, with the receiving score. And USC leads at 14-0 as he does the Gwitty. So Miami's got it back, looking to cut into this lead. The offense has not even gotten yardage. It feels like barely getting first downs, dumping off short passes for nothing. As we've got a timeout, that'll make it a 3rd down. Miami continuously finding themselves behind the sticks, and they haven't been able to get themselves out of these situations. They're just going to run the ball with A.J. Allen, who gets a few. We've got another flag. It's going to be on the offense. I mean, it really feels like these guys cannot do anything right at this point. Miami's going to punt it. USC gets it back as it is a 3rd and 2 for the Trojans. Onatulu looks to throw it. It's intercepted again. Robert Stafford, his 2nd of the ball game. Miami forces another turnover. Yet there's not much time left in the first half. It's not going to result in points, but it does keep USC off the board. They could have made it a 3-score lead. 14-0 feels a little bit more manageable. But with Miami only having 37 yards so far, averaging 2 yards per play, and just 1 3rd down conversion, I'm struggling to find the light at the end of the tunnel for them. Their offense hasn't even shown flashes. At least in the case of the Notre Dame and Michigan game, Notre Dame had a couple good drives, and Jay Pitts was playing pretty well prior to the 4th quarter where he really got it going. That's not the case for Miami, and it's just going to get worse. Zion Turner is picked off. Intercepted on the play by James Bridgewater. USC now forces the turnover. They'll get plus field position. Here's Onatulu on 3rd and 15. Going to run for some yardage. I'm not sure why he didn't, but he'll throw it away. USC's going to punt it. Miami back with it. Will this be the drive? They're going to run it here with Allen to the right side. Look at him go. A nice run for A.J. Allen. More of that. They can't go away from the run just because they're down. Turner downfield. He's got his man. Really nice throw and catch into the hands of Isaiah Horton. A gain of 31 for the senior receiver. Now we're finally starting to get something here from the Miami offense as they have it past the 50 for the first time all game. This is ridiculously on brand for a Mario Cristobal coach team to be the number 1 seed and be amongst the favorites to win the title just to lay this much of an egg. A.J. Allen with the first down. Going to be a screen now for Allen, and he is going out of bounds. That was a horrible play by A.J. Allen. He needed to cut it to the right side of his blocker, inside the hash marks, to where, he could have gotten the first down pretty easily, but instead he cuts it outside to the sideline to end the drive. Miami at least scores with a field goal. It's 14-3. Onatulu on the read option. Past the 45, nearing the 50. Hasn't been a perfect game for the freshman quarterback, but he's had some impressive plays in this one, including that run. 2nd and 2, short throw. Pinto level behind the line of scrimmage. That'll wrap up the third. Miami cuts the lead down a little bit from 14 to 11. Still a lot of work to do. The offense has got to be better because, again, this is not enough. At least they made some strides, though, in the third. Let's see if USC can really start to take some control. 3rd down and 4, nearing midfield for the Trojans. Onatulu looks to throw it. Dances around under pressure. Downfield, nice throw and catch for Zachariah Branch, who's had some impressive plays today for the Trojans. Moving it well at the 10. Quentin Joyner with a good run. He is in for a touchdown, and USC adds to the lead. They are putting the number 1 seed Miami on the ropes at home as it's 21-3. Turner's pass on 3rd down is broken up. Good coverage by Bridgewater. He had the interception earlier, and so that'll make it a 4th down and 6. Miami has to go for it. What do they have to lose? As that one is caught for a first down a little bit past the 30 by Horton. That'll keep the drive going and really the game going, given that it's a 3-score deficit. 2nd and 10. Here is Turner under more pressure, and he is sacked. USC makes the play in the backfield, just the 2nd sack of the game, but they've sent plenty of pressure. 3rd and 21. That one is caught by Dante Little for 45. Finally, Zion looks to air it out. He's got a strong arm. He's got a nice deep ball. I don't know why they've really limited him in terms of stretching the field. You see, when you have your talented quarterback go deep, it can work out, Mr. Cristobal. 3rd and 13. Turner for the end zone. It is broken up by the USC defense. That'll make it a 4th down now. Obviously, Miami again looking to go for it. What is there to lose given where we are in this game? Turner looking for the end zone. It is tipped and incomplete again. So USC is going to hold them once more, but they would get it back on offense a few minutes later, and they would end up scoring. Ray Joseph with the touchdown. That'll make it 21-10. Now going to go for the onside as it will be recovered by USC, and that should just about do it. So the Trojans are going to win this game 21-10. They knock off number 1 seed Miami and will go to the Final Four. They will play against Maryland for a spot in the national title game. So the 4 teams left, Maryland versus USC, and then Notre Dame and Clemson. One of those 4 will be our champion. If you were to tell me that USC would score 19 and 21 points in their first 2 playoff games, I would tell you there's no way they would make it to the Final Four because this is an offense-first football team. Miami's defense, for the most part, won the battle against this high-octane offense. The problem is, what we did not take account for is that Miami might just lay a stinker on the offensive side of the ball, and that is exactly what they did, only scoring 10 points. Zion Turner was not impressive. The run game was not very good. Mario Cristobal called a really bad game. I'm going to choose to laugh at him and enjoy this because it's kind of funny. Interestingly, 3 of the 4 teams with byes ended up losing. Notre Dame was the only one who ended up winning. So I think the numbers here for Turner are a little bit inflated. I really don't think he played a very good game. The one thing I will say is I think he did a good job of avoiding sacks. He was under pressure. That caused him some problems. He was only sacked twice, but obviously that was still not enough. Defensively, again, I thought they did a pretty good job. All things considered, Marquise Lightfoot had 6 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. Robert Stafford had the 2 interceptions. Allowing 21 points against USC should be good enough to win. Sam Monatulu was far from perfect in this game with the 2 interceptions, only completing 6 yards per attempt. The run game was, I don't want to say it was non-existent because they ran it a lot, but they did not run it well. Taylor Pinto, 2.8 yards per carry. The Heisman Trophy winner, Xavier Jordan, was quiet again, but they found a way to win in spite of all of this. And they found a way to win this game convincingly at that against the number 1 team in the country. And for that, you got to give them credit. The defense has been fantastic 2 weeks in a row. They shut down Oklahoma. They shut down Miami even more. These guys got some ball players on defense, really good front 7, one of the best safety tandems in the country, and some talented young corners. James Bridgewater in particular, I thought played a really good game for USC today. So with that, we are down to 4. Our national champion will be decided in the next episode. Maryland and USC will face off against each other in the Sugar Bowl. Notre Dame and Clemson will face off at the Rose Bowl. Players of the week, by the way, MJ Morris, obviously, on offense, and then Marquise Lightfoot defensively. I didn't show last week's. It's Cameron Brandt, and then Audric Harris for Washington, so not even a playoff guy. I feel like Nick Harper kind of got robbed, but oh well. That'll wrap up the episode. Next time around, we will crown a national champion, and then with that, we will position ourselves towards the offseason. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. Peace out.